Support WrestleTalk!
Click the thumbs up. 2018 was a long, weird year for WWE, even by WWE standards. But amidst all the Survivor Series clean sweeps, Shane McMahon winning a tournament to determine the best in the world, and 2 Saudi Arabia PR shows, WWE have had some unequivocal successes. Don't believe me? Well then here's a list video of 10 of them from 2018. Number 10, the Men's Royal Rumble match. For our first entry, you must cast your mind all the way back to the start of 2018, where everyone who is now a heel was once a babyface, and everyone who was once a heel is still a heel. There's a lot of heels in WWE right now. The Men's Royal Rumble match might not have main evented the pay-per-view, with that honor saved for the first ever Women's Royal Rumble, but it might have been one of the best men's main roster matches all year, and arguably amongst the top Rumble bouts of all time. Adam Cole and then NXT champion Andrade CIAMPA'S made their main roster debuts. The Hurricane Shane Helms was a great nostalgia cameo, and everyone actually enjoyed seeing Rey Mysterio enter the Rumble this time round, after everyone wanted him to be Daniel Bryan in 2014. The final 6 perfectly encapsulated WWE's identity crisis, with a fascinating standoff between the old school of Randy Orton, John Cena and Mysterio against the new generation of Finn Balor, Shinsuke Nakamura and Roman Reigns. Nakamura would eventually win in a fantastically dramatic finish. Number 9, Moustache Mountain winning the tag titles. Undisputed Era have dominated NXT in 2018, with them holding the tag team championships for most of the year. I say most because for just 2 days in June, NXT UK act Moustache Mountain, made up of Tyler Bate and Trent Seven, defeated them at the WWE United Kingdom Championship Tournament in a fantastic match, with the home country reaction in the Royal Albert Hall being one of the biggest pops of the year. The UK tournament match wasn't just an incredible bout with a hot crowd, it was also a rare WWE example of the company giving the hometown stars a win. Although it interrupted what could have been a year-long title reign for Undisputed Era, this helped solidify Moustache Mountain as stars. Number 8, Evolution, the women's pay-per-view, not Triple H and friends. After months of clumsy PR pushes and an uninspiring card, I don't think many saw WWE's first ever all-female pay-per-view Evolution coming, especially not WWE, as they completely forgot to promote it in the weeks before the event, as they were running about 17 other major WWE shows at the time. Thankfully, in part because WWE's production team was so stretched, and the event was run by the NXT crew, the show had a really unique feel. Evolution was a celebration of sports ladytainment, like how All In was a celebration of indie wrestling. Trish Stratus and Lita were there, the Battle Royal was more fun than it had any right to be, and Ronda Rousey and Nikki Bella put on a solid main event. The standout was WWE's first ever last woman standing match between Becky Lynch and Charlotte though, which finally saw the promotion treat their women's division with respect, rather than just booking feuds around who's friends with who. Dave Meltzer awarded it 4 3/4 stars, the highest rating he's ever given for a WWE women's match, making Evolution actually one of the best wrestling shows of the whole year. Number 7, Undisputed Era. Having debuted on NXT in August 2017, the Undisputed Era began as just Adam Cole, Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, healing their way into the main event scene of both the singles and tag divisions within months. They won their first belts, the NXT tag titles, at the end of 2017 by defeating Sanity, which they would go on to hold for all but 2 days of 2018 as previously mentioned. And then somehow at NXT TakeOver New Orleans, they leveled up. First, Cole became the inaugural NXT North American Champion in a widely celebrated ladder match, and then he had to wrestle again later that night, defending the Undisputed Era's tag titles with O'Reilly, replacing an injured Fish. Thankfully, they had a heel turn from Roderick Strong, aligning with them to retain. All 4 men are fantastic wrestlers, with a shared charisma that's made them one of the best factions in NXT history. I also like humming their theme tune. Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-da-dum. Ba-dum, bum, bum, boo. Speaking of Cole's inaugural North American title win segue, number 6, that North American title ladder match. You might have noticed by now there's quite a lot of NXT on this list, which is mostly because the main roster can't ruin it like they do pretty much everything else this year. Okay, sorry, positive list. It's about WWE Successes. Okay, shut. Oh god, that's another thing they made annoying! In March, NXT General Manager William Regal announced that a new title, the North American Championship, would be introduced to the developmental brand at their TakeOver New Orleans show, and that the belt itself is really sexy. Regal didn't say that, it's just what I think. To decide the inaugural champion, he booked a ladder match between Killian Dane, Lars Sullivan, Velveteen Dream, and the aforementioned Adam Cole, baby, along with the TakeOver debuts of recent major signings EC3 and Ricochet. The match wasn't just an absolute spectacle, with Dave Meltzer awarding it 5 stars. It also showcased each wrestler's talent, elevating them up the NXT card to establish new stars. Number 5. Drew McIntyre's main roster push. There have been 7 NXT call-ups this year, and we can only say that one has actually been a success, and technically he's more of a main roster return. Why do you hate NXT so much, Vince? Far surpassing Ember Moon, Andrade Cien Almas, Sanity, No Way Jose, The Iconics and AOP. God, that's depressing. Drew McIntyre returned to the main roster in April following a 4-year hiatus on the Indies and a brief run as NXT champion in Redevelopmental. In his comeback, Drew initially cut an imposing figure as Dolph Ziggler's bodyguard, the Diesel to Ziggler's Shawn Michaels, but it soon became clear WWE had much bigger plans for him. He became a Raw Tag Team Champion with Ziggler and was heavily protected in matches, only suffering his first pinfall defeat to Dolph once they'd split almost 8 months later. And following a dominating performance over Kurt Angle, Drew is reportedly set for a mega push in 2019, likely to become Raw's top heel. Number 4. Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania 34. Possibly the most surprising wrestling success of the year was how Ronda Rousey was actually really good in her in-ring debut. After a famous career in MMA and the UFC, Rousey rather awkwardly debuted in the Women's Royal Rumble post-match celebration. Not because a lot of people just wanted to cheer the winner Asuka, but also because she kept doing this weird point thing. A few clumsy promos and some weird Jedi-like punch dodging came in the months that followed, and many were doubting how she'd fare in her big stage debut, a mixed tag match of her tagging with Kurt Angle against Triple H and Stephanie McMahon at WrestleMania 34. Somehow, mainly through weeks and weeks of practicing the match, her performance stole the show, making Stephanie tap in the armbar for the win, solidifying her as a top star for the rest of the year. Number 3. Everything Becky Lynch. Who would have thunk it? Becky Lynch is really good. Well, actually, literally everyone apart from WWE. Ironically, it was a forced heel turn that ignited her recent reinvention as The Man in August, where after scraping away in undercard matches for the first half of the year, not having a proper storyline, her best friend Charlotte was added to her women's title match at SummerSlam, mostly just because she's Charlotte Flair. The fans emotionally sided with Becky, and despite WWE pushing her as a heel, she received the loudest cheers night after night. SmackDown finally relented after Evolution and began presenting her as a badass babyface, and after her champion versus champion match for Survivor Series against Ronda Rousey was unfairly scrapped due to Nia Jax concussing Becky with a botched punch, the eventual Rousey versus Lynch match is now expected to main event WrestleMania 35. Not bad for someone who started the year with a tea drinking gimmick. Number 2. Daniel Bryan's initial return. Daniel Bryan retired in 2016 due to multiple concussions, and the majority of us believed we'd never see him wrestle again. A wrestler at the top of his profession, cruelly no longer able to do what he loves. Daniel Bryan, however, disagreed, as he was able to get a number of doctors to medically clear him for an in-ring return. Rumours began at the start of 2018 saying he'd just leave WWE once his contract had expired to start wrestling again on the indies. Rumours that mainly came from Bryan himself, because that's what he kept heavily teasing in public interviews. But then, on a normal day back in March, the almost unbelievable news broke that Bryan had been cleared to return by WWE's medical team, which had absolutely nothing to do with the prospect of him going to All In or New Japan. He came out on that night's SmackDown to a thunderous reaction, cutting a promo that had the crowd close to tears. But not me, because I'm an adult man. Just 6 months later, he'd reinvent his character into a preachy environmentalist, becoming WWE champion and one of the top heels in the company. But the best heel in all of WWE goes to half of our top spot entry. Number 1. Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa's rivalry. January saw the return from injury of Tommaso Ciampa, where he attacked Johnny Gargano after his 5-star match with Andrade Cien at NXT TakeOver Philadelphia. That rivalry was so intense, Ciampa and Gargano would go on to main event the next 3 consecutive takeovers, each one a new chapter in Ciampa's descent into title-obsessed madness and Gargano's own plunge into darkness, ridding Ciampa from NXT. I sincerely believe the Gargano-Ciampa story is amongst the most complex, layered, well thought out, long-term pieces of booking WWE have ever done. In fact, that wrestling has ever done, with the seeds of this rivalry even present in their 2016 Cruiserweight Classic match. Their character arcs are comparable with the greats in literature, or, at the very least, adult TV shows on HBO. And I'm yet to see Westwell do a draping DDT on the exposed plywood beneath a ring canvas. I'd even argue that as a complete package with in-ring wrestling story and character, Gargano Ciampa even surpasses the lauded series of matches between Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada. What are your favourite WWE wins of 2018? Let me know all the things I've stupidly missed in the comments below. And speaking of NXT, let's rank every single main roster call-up this year from worst to best. That's gonna be depressing. Click the video on screen now to find out our picks. I've been Oli Davis, and that was wrestling.